Well, ladies and gentlemen, while we are waiting for the next big tournament to happen, we have another drag race tournament for you. And without skipping a single beat, let's meet the first group. We have the Cybertub, Craigster Sr., Boondocks, and Daniel M.G. Now, I believe the way this tournament will work is that we'll have 2 days where 8 racers will move on, and then days 3 and 4 we'll divide the ones who moved on in half, and then the last video will be the finals. But as we end that first drag race already, I think that was Craigster Sr., it was, that finished in first with a 2.59. You're going to see a lot of quick races, but that's why there are 4 groups in this video instead of the usual 2. In race number 2, it is Craigster Sr. out in front, but Daniel M.G. is right on his tail. Can he catch him? No! They do bump into each other a little bit at the very end, but Craigster Sr. gets a new fast time of 2.57. This is going to be rapid fire, so hold on to your hats. Craigster Sr. already has 2 wins, 1 more, and he automatically is the one moving on. The other 3 will fall short. He just needs his last win. It looks like he's going to be able to do it. So Craigster Sr. will already be the first one moving on to our grand finals, if you will, of this drag race tournament. Finishing with the same time of 2.57. So now it's just a victory lap for Craigster. Let's see what he does with it. Now, all these races are from the last tournament, I believe, so everyone has a chance to redeem themselves. That being said, Craigster Sr. is the one moving on, hasn't lost a race yet, and he finished with a 2.58 that time around. It also looks like something got knocked loose on the Cybertruck lane. Ooh, yeah, something got knocked loose there. Hopefully everyone's okay. Looked like they had just enough height that they hit the sign on the way through. Now, Craigster Sr. is the one moving on out of this group, and now we move on to the second one. And the second group contains Junkyard Dog, David White, Dusty Miles, and Rico the Robot. We've seen at least 2 different racers that feature dogs on the top of their vehicle, and so far they unfortunately have not had the greatest track record. But now Dusty Miles, on the first race in the drag race tournament for them, now have the new fastest time of 2.55. You're probably not going to get too much faster than that, considering how quick these races are. But we shall see. Dusty Miles now has the lead. Will someone be able to take that away from him? He's out in front. Rico the Robot looked like he was in second, and then goes David White. But David White grabs second. Rico in third, I believe. Dusty Miles gets another win. Now, with the way this track is laid out, it's bound to be a lot closer most of the time, considering they don't have as much time to spread out. But now Dusty Miles just needs 1 more win. And these long stretch vehicles did really well in the last tournament, and it seems like there won't be any exception to that here, as Dusty Miles grabs a 3rd win, and he will move on. I believe 2.55 is still the fastest time we've seen so far, but there are plenty of opportunities to break it. But now it's Dusty Miles moving on, joining Craigster Sr. The other 3 just want to stop Dusty Miles from being undefeated. Can they do it? They start the race, Dusty Miles gets an early lead, and the other 3 quickly fall behind, and Dusty Miles grabs a 4th consecutive win, with a 2.54 that time. Anytime a speed record is broken, it's probably not going to be by much. So now half of the groups have gone. We will now move on to the other half with group number 3. And group number 3 has Big C, Cloaked After Dark, Numbskull, and Nomo. I believe some of these racers, or at least 1 or 2 of them, weren't always able to stay on their feet, but it should be a lot easier here. And for this race, I think that was Numbskull that got the win, but we'll have to check the replay just to be sure. I believe that was Numbskull, but Big C got really close. So it's still anyone's game at this point. And now race number 2, they're taking off down the hill. Numbskull does have a slight lead, but here comes Big C. Can he catch him? No, he can't. Numbskull grabs another win, finishing with a 2.6. Right now I believe the fastest time is 2.54, but I'll look back at the footage later to be absolutely certain. Now it is Numbskull's turn to get one more win to move on. Let's see what happens. He is now on the end lane. Let's see if that affects him at all. He is in front, but we got two racers right on his tail, and they just could not catch him. Numbskull grabs a third consecutive win, and now he has stamped his position in the Drag Race Grand Finals. And now it's the other three who are trying to keep him from being the third consecutive racer to be undefeated. But it looks like it's going to be difficult as Numbskull grabs an early lead and uses that to his advantage to get the win. Finishing relatively consistent throughout all four races. But it will be Numbskull being the one that'll move on. So far we've had everyone who finished in first finish in nothing but first. Let's see if the fourth group will provide a racer with similar results, which has Boomershine, Wild Willie G, Jesus, and T-Ball. And as we begin the race, one of them quickly falls behind, the other three are right next to each other. I'm honestly not sure who got that one. It looked like Jesus was the one who fell behind, but I'm not quite sure who got that win. It looks like it might have been Boomershine. And it was! But that was very close. I wouldn't be surprised if Boomershine did not get all four wins, but if they do, good for them. And now we begin the second race. Similar things are going on right now. Boomershine does have a little bit more of an edge this time around, so he will get a second consecutive victory. This is definitely a nail-biter with how close these three have been already. But now Boomershine is the next racer to just need one more win. But it's not as clean-cut this time around. Now we begin the second race. It looks like he's actually trailing a little bit, and Wild Willie G gets the win. Boomershine will not be undefeated. They do finish around the same time that Boomershine has been so far with a 2.58. But Boomershine is not guaranteed to move on, even though their chances are still really good. If Wild Willie G can finish in front of Boomershine again, we may have a tiebreaker on our hands. And here we go. It looks like Wild Willie G does actually have the lead. I'm not entirely sure, though. I think Boomershine might have grabbed it at the last moment. Wild Willie G did at least start out with the lead, which is what he needed. But it looks like Boomershine might have grabbed it from him right at the finish. And that is exactly what happened, so Boomershine will still be moving on. So now we have the first four of the roster for the Drag Race Grand Finals. Thank you all so much for watching. See you for day 2. Hello everyone and welcome to day number 2 of our newest custom mail-in tournament drag race. We have our first group ready to go, so let's go ahead and meet them. We have SX Boys Strike, Philip Sabonis, Lara Reed, and Killa Kowalski. The first race is underway. It looks relatively even, but then Killa Kowalski takes the lead, and they will finish in first. A great start for Killa at a 2.57. Right now I believe the fastest time is 2.54. So they were pretty close at beating that already. But we had 4 groups race in the last video, and out of the 4, 3 of them produced an undefeated racer. The only one who moved on that wasn't was Boomershine. But now into the second race, Killa Kowalski takes another win, and it looks like everyone will finish in about the same positions, and Killa Kowalski finished at the exact same time as he did in the first race. Even if they're not the fastest, you gotta give props for consistency. But Killa Kowalski is just one win away from already joining the first 4 racers that have moved on. And it looks like they're going to do it as they take an early lead. And talk about consistency, everyone finishes in the same positions yet again. And Killer Kowalski 3 times in a row finishes with a 2.57. So he will be moving on. Let's see if he can get a 4th 2.57. If he does, then that may be one of the most consistent racers we've seen yet. He does take a slight lead. Looks like Lero and SX are trying to make something happen, but they couldn't do it. Was it 2.57? No, it was slightly slower with a 2.59. But that was awfully close to getting the same time every time. But Killer Kowalski will be moving on. Let's see who will join him in the rest of the video, starting with our second group, which has Raptor Racing Rex, Lily the Dog, Big Daddy Racing, and Arlo. Definitely some fan favorites in here. It looks like Arlo has a slight lead. Lily the Dog is trying to get up next to him, couldn't quite do it. And we have a 2.59 from Arlo. A great finish to be sure. Anything below 2.6, you're good to go. And now into heat number 2. Arlo is in lane 1. Let's see if being on the end does anything for him. He does have the lead currently. Lily is a little bit closer this time, but no cigar, as they say. And now Arlo finishes with a 2.58 for his second victory. Now just needs one more. If anyone's going to stop Arlo in this group, it would likely be Lily the Dog, but we've seen some wacky surprises in previous tournaments, so that could happen here. But Arlo gets an early lead. Lily the Dog just cannot make it happen, and Arlo will be our next racer moving on, finishing with a 2.6 that time around. So out of 6 groups, I believe we've had so far, which means only 2 spots will be filled after this. Will need to be filled, rather. Here comes Arlo again, trying to get a 4th consecutive win. I thought for some reason we already had 4, but that is not the case. And Arlo finishes yet again in 1st. Congrats to all racers, but Arlo will be the one moving on. So out of 6 groups so far, 5 of them have produced an undefeated racer. And in our third group, Silver Bullet, Deidre Lynn Racing, NDG, and Hardcore Poetic. I'm sure Silver Bullet for sure wants to redeem themselves after the incidents, we shall say, of the last tournament. So far, I think they finished in 2nd, which is a good place to be, but unlike the last tournament we just had, nothing under 1st will move on. So NDG has the best start right now, but let's see if they can be consistent. Heat number 2. Here comes Silver Bullet actually in the lead, but NDG gets enough of a burst of speed that they can get that win yet again. So that is 2 wins for MDG, and now they are 1 win away from automatically moving on. Silver Bullet has gotten close, along with Deidre, but they gotta stay in front of MDG if they want their chances to stay alive. And it looks like Silver Bullet can start out strong, but MDG has better control after going down that hill, and they get their 3rd consecutive win, allowing them to move on in this tournament. But Silver Bullet is definitely doing a lot better than they were in the previous tournament, so that's something to smile about for sure. And now 1 race to go. MDG is looking to join the group of undefeateds. And he manages to pull it off, finishing with a decent time of 2.6. So that is 6 out of 7 groups that have produced an undefeated racer. And now we only have 1 group remaining, 1 spot left in our Drag Race Grand Finals. And in this group, Big Mike, Sam Hall, Sir Pouncin in your face. It looks like Sam Hall has a slight lead, but here comes In Your Face. I think he managed to pull it off. Yes, he did. Finishing with a 2.61. That is a little high compared to some of our other racers. But as long as you are able to move on, you'll have chances to improve as you go. So In Your Face is already in a great position. And it looks like they are going to grab another win. I wasn't sure if Sam Hall was going to be able to do it. It looked like they were starting out okay. But like with MDG, after In Your Face gets down that hill, they get enough speed to pass anyone that was in front of them. So now In Your Face is 2 wins away from being the next undefeated racer. And here they come. Sam Hall starts out with a slight lead, but In Your Face manages to take it away from him, I think. That did seem a little bit closer this time around. So we'll check the replay just to be absolutely certain, but I believe that was still In Your Face's race. And it was. In Your Face will be moving on. So now it's just a matter of if anyone can stop them from getting 4 consecutive wins. And In Your Face did start out in the lead. Sam Hall managed to get next to him, but I think Sam Hall did trail behind just slightly towards the end. So it looks like In Your Face will be the 7th undefeated racer out of the roster that is advancing to the grand finals. So there you have it. Thank you all so much for watching. See you for the next phase of the drag races. I want to start this video off by actually apologizing a little bit, because I thought there were only going to be 2 videos before the grand finals, but there's actually 4. And in the first group for the 3rd video, we have Reno Racing, Shababy, RAF, and Puff. RAF is a vehicle that represents races and fun themselves, and they are going to grab that first win, finishing with a 2.54. That is currently tied for the fastest time we've had so far. Dusty Miles was the other person to grab a time that fast. So things are already looking pretty high up in positivity for RAF. And now for the second race, they are starting out on the outside lane there, and they grab the win yet again, finishing once more with a 2.54. They're already slightly more consistent than Dusty Miles, but only ever so slightly. So now, RAF is the next vehicle to just need one more victory to stamp their way into the next round. And it looks like they're gonna get it. No competition whatsoever. And another 2.54. We've had at least a couple races, I believe, at this point get very close to finishing at the exact same time in all 4 races they were in, but I don't think anyone's been able to do it just yet. Now RAF is looking to get a 4th consecutive win, joining the roster of undefeated racers, and he's going to get it. Was he able to get faster than 2.54? Yes, he was, finishing with a 2.53. An ever so slight improvement, but now they are the solo holder of the fastest time so far. And now for the second group in this video. And in that second group, we have 4114 Racing, Big Cat, Tito, and Sneaky Bob. Some of these racers just go to show that creative designs can always stand out in a great way. But for now, it is Sneaky Bob who grabs the first win, showing once more how some of these stretched out vehicles seem to do really well on these tracks, whether it be in this tournament or in previous ones. But Sneaky Bob grabs that first win. They just need 2 more. And now the drag race begins here. Sneaky Bob does have a slight lead. Big Cat looks like he was on his tail, but losing that speed very quickly. And Sneaky Bob grabs another win, finishing with a 2.61 this time around. That is a little slow compared to some of our faster racers. But as long as you move on, you have every opportunity to improve the next time you appear. And it looks like Sneaky Bob will be appearing in the future, because they just need 1 more win, and so far, no one's been able to pass them. It looked like Big Cat might have a shot there, but I think Sneaky Bob was able to still grab another win. It Double checking the replay, and it definitely looks like it's in Sneaky Bob's favor. Yep, so he will be moving on next. Now they just need one more win to be another racer in this roster to be undefeated. So far, they actually started neck and neck with Tito and Big Cat. And I think Sneaky Bob was able to get that 4th win, but that definitely was a little bit closer than some of the previous ones. But I think they're going to give it to Sneaky Bob, and they will. So far, I believe we've only had one racer out of every group so far that has moved on that wasn't undefeated, and that was Boomershine. Let's see if anyone else will join him in that category. Right now, with Rebel Racer, Mr. Dark, Amy Russell, and Nick Devers, it looks like Rebel Racer grabbed that first win. But he did have a little bit of competition there by Mr. Dark. So no one is out of the woods yet. And I think I mentioned this in the last tournament, but Rebel Racer definitely has some advantage to a degree with how flat that vehicle is. It could be a lot more aerodynamic that way. But I'm no physics major, so I could very well be wrong about that. But they did grab a second win, so now they're sitting a little bit more comfortably. Mr. Dark is definitely keeping him on his toes, though. So one even slight slip-up could mean the end. But now Rebel Racer's just one race away. They did start out a little bit slower than Nick Devers and Mr. Dark, but now they are stretching their nose out, and they managed to grab that 3rd win, finishing under 2.6 this time around. So they will automatically be moving on, but can anyone stop him from a 4th win? We'll have to see. But as the race begins, Rebel Racer is already in front as they go down that hill, and he grabs that 4th win. Finishing under 2.6 yet again. That should boost their confidence at least a little bit. But now we have one group left to go. Let's see who is in it. We have Graveyard King, Matt McNear, RoboCop, and Billy Bob Outback. RoboCop specifically was in a very, shall we say, rare and interesting group in the last tournament, where in the preliminaries, they were the only racer in their group to finish at all. But now they have a little bit more competition in a drag race like this. And they did finish in last, so they have to pick up the pace if they want to move on yet again. But right now, Billy Bob Outback has the lead in points, but it looks like Graveyard King actually stopped him already from being undefeated. If that's the case, then we have 2 racers that will move on that are not undefeated, regardless of who it is. And that's exactly what happened. Graveyard King and Billy Bob Outback are now tied for points after 2 races, so now it's not going to be set in stone after this 3rd one. Billy Bob Outback does have a slight lead, but Graveyard King takes it away from him yet again. So Billy Bob Outback, it was looking good for him after that first race, but Graveyard King has now tipped the odds in their favor. This next race could decide it all, or maybe there will be a tiebreaker. We'll have to see. But Billy Bob Outback needs to finish in front of Graveyard King, and it looks like that will not happen as Graveyard King edges him out, and Graveyard King will be moving on. Usually after the first race or 2, you have an idea of who will move on, but not in this case. So now we have our next 4 racers, and only 4 slots left, I believe. Thank you all so much for watching. See you next time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 4 of our second custom mail-in drag race. without skipping a beat, let's move on right now into our first group. Rob Maverick, Raggin' Ricky, AJMGH, and Flip Gambino. Flip Gambino definitely has had some speed records before, and it looks like they might grab one now as they grab that first win. And they almost tie for the fastest time so far. Right now the fastest time is a 2.53, currently held by RAF, aka the Races and Fun vehicle. And now for heat number 2. It's already looking very promising for Flip. Going down to the bottom of the hill, they already have half a car's length, and it just grows ever more the further down that lane they go. They grab another win with a 2.55 this time. They definitely have a chance to break that speed record. But the question is, will they? They're already just one race away from filling out another spot in the races for the final round, and it looks like they are going to get it. No competition for Flip Gambino whatsoever. And they are tied for the fastest time so far. We now have 2 cars that have finished at a 2.53, Flip Gambino and RAF. So now Flip is joining undefeated racers, and it is going to happen for sure. And they finish with a 2.53 again. I think RAF was only able to do that once, whereas Flip Gambino did that twice. And now for our second group. And the second group contains Chewy Mandingo, Big Poppy, Bolo Brown, and Gaylord Fokker. And as the race begins, it looked like Bolo Brown had a slight lead, but Chewy Mandingo grabs that lead. And they will grab the first win on top of it. And they finish with a 2.6. Anything below that should have you feel confident, but 2.6 is dangerous territory. Now for heat number 2, Chewy Mandingo, the current leader, starts out in one of the inside lanes, and I don't think they're actually going to get that second consecutive win. It looked like Bolo Brown actually got it, finishing with a 2.63 here. Let's double check. And I believe that's what happened. This will be the third group so far that has not produced a racer that has won all 4 times. So far, Graveyard King and Boomershine are the other ones. And Chewy Mandingo is not happy about that, and they did at least grab another win in response. Which other racers weren't quite able to do. So now it's pretty close between Chewy Mandingo and Bolo Brown. If Bolo Brown can finish in front of Chewy, we could have a tiebreaker on our hands, or, depending on how Chewy finishes, they might not move on at all. And it looks like Bolo Brown did actually manage to get that victory. So I believe this will be our first and possibly only tiebreaker in this drag race tournament. Oh no, they're giving it to Chewy because he had an overall faster time. So I guess we'll just move on to the third group then, which has Lone Wolf, Polk County, Chase Family, and Lucky. Let's see if Lucky lives up to that name. So far they are not, as they are quickly trailing behind, whereas Polk County grabs that first win. I believe it was Polk. Let's double check to be sure. Yep, it was Polk County. And they finished with a 2.6. So now I guess when there is a tie, whoever has the faster time between the two overall will be the one to move on. And now in the second race, Polk County already starts out strong, and they grab a second win. And they finish at 2.6 once again. If they can finish under 2.6, that is a little bit more promising. But if they do move on, and it looks like they might, they have some nasty speed demons that'll be facing them later on. And as a great start to the start of the race by Polk County, and once they grabbed that lead, they stayed there. And 3 2.6 finishes in a row. several racers have gotten awfully close to finishing all 4 times at the exact time as the previous. But nobody has been able to do it yet, I don't think. Let's see if Polk County can finish at 2.6 yet again. They do have the lead, so it looks like they will be undefeated. But will it be 2.6? It will! That is 4 2.6 finishes in a row. Talk about consistency. But now we just have one group left entering this tournament. Let's see who they are. Champagne Papi, Uncle Elvis, J-Bo, and Heriberto Perez. Now keep in mind, Champagne Papi is currently our defending champion. They do grab that first win, by the way. But Champagne Papi, who's very close to taking the speed record right now, has won the last 2 tournaments that we've hosted, including the first drag race tournament we had. They have not lost a tournament in recent memory. And it looks like they're going to be doing really well in this one. And they finish with a 2.53. We now have 3 racers, I believe, holding on to the fastest time of 2.53. Which I believe is RAF, Flip Gambino, and now Champagne Papi. And now for the third race, Champagne Papi is once again out in the lead. Uncle Elvis is relatively close, but close does not get the job done. And now that's 2 times they finished at a 2.53. They're already moving on. Will they remain undefeated? It's definitely very promising for them. They just have 1 race left. And then our roster, I believe, will be decided. I mean, our roster is decided at this point. But he's looking to be undefeated, and he is. Our defending champion is moving on, finishing with spectacular times. So everyone will have to try and dethrone Champagne Papi, otherwise known as Blue Line Racing, yet again. Thanks so much for watching. See you for the final round. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now here at the finals of our second drag race tournament. And we will not miss a beat as we jump into the first group already. Crankster Sr., Dusty Miles, Numbskull, and Boomershine. I believe 3 of these racers are undefeated. Boomershine is not. And now only 1 of them is, that being Dusty Miles, finishing with a 2.57. Right now, we have 3 racers tied for the fastest time. RAF, Flip Gambino, and Champagne Papi all finished at some point with a 2.53. Now here we go into the second race. Things are looking pretty good for Dusty Miles right now, who at one point did have the fastest time. And they're getting pretty close now, as they have 2 consecutive wins. 1 more will be very good for them. All these racers worked really hard to get here, usually winning all 4 races. But now it is Dusty Miles who's looking pretty good, and they will be moving on with that 3rd victory. And they are staying relatively consistent. But they do not have the fastest time. They will need to go slightly faster, going up against some of the speed demons we've had on top of Dusty Miles. But now heat number 4. At this point, Dusty Miles has not lost a race yet, and he's looking to keep that alive, and he will, as the other 3 stay relatively close together, but behind Dusty Miles. So Dusty Miles will be moving on to the last round, I believe, or at least the semifinals. But now for the second group. We have Killer Kowalski, Arlo, NDG, and In Your Face. Some of these guys, once they get to the bottom of the hill, they have a bit of a speed boost, and that looks to be the case here. They are all right on top of each other. I'm really not sure who got that win. We're going to have to take a look at the photo finish just to be certain. It looked like Killa grabbed that one, and he did. But that was awfully close. That was definitely one of the closer races we've had in this drag race tournament up to this point. And now for race number 2, Killer Kowalski has a bit of a slight lead this time, and they did not give it up. 2 wins for Killa. And it looked like the timer was actually kind of busted that time. But they did finish with a 2.57. That much we know. And now Killer Kowalski is just 1 victory away. Can he do it? He doesn't have as big of a lead this time around. Arlo is trying to take it away from him. I think he might have. From that angle, it looked like Arlo grabbed it at the last possible moment, but I'm not entirely sure. No, they're saying Killer Kowalski grabbed that win, so he will be moving on. And now just 1 race left. Can Killer Kowalski stay undefeated? I'm not sure. It looks like he actually did pull out in front at the last quarter of that part of the track. And he finished with a 2.59 again. Well, I don't know about again, but he did finish with a 2.59, busting the timer again for some reason. And he is moving on. But now our third group, which has RAF, Sneaky Bob, Rebel Racer, and Graveyard King. RAF is one of our holders of the fastest time, and it looks like they're trying to get that again as they grab the first win of this group, but they finished slightly slower with a 2.55. Now, even though that was slower, that is not slow. They definitely have been one of the speed demons in this tournament up to this point. And they're trying to keep that going. And it looks like they will, because they are pulling away once more while the other 3 trail behind. They were able to get the fastest time so far, but they have not been able to replicate it yet. And RAF just needs 1 more win. They are basically the host of this tournament, as they are representing races and fun. And it looks like they will grab that win, so they are moving on. They've been finishing with a 2.55 every time in this particular group. Can they replicate a 2.53? They are moving on, so they will have more opportunities. But if they want to win, they gotta try and move slightly quicker. Now, Rebel Racer actually had the edge on him for just a moment, but could not quite hold it, as RAF finishes with 4 consecutive 2.55s. So RAF is moving on. Who will join him? 1 group left. Flip Gambino, Chewy Mandingo, Polk County, and Champagne Poppy. 2 of these racers, that being Flip Gambino and Champagne Poppy, who represents Blue Line Racing, had the fastest time as well. And they were actually right next to each other, and they both, I don't know if they both finished with a 2.54, but one of them certainly did. And it looked like that might have been Flip Gambino. And it, oh no, it was a tie. They're considering it a tie, apparently. It looked to me like Flip Gambino might have edged him out. But according to the judges, they finished at the same time. And this time around, Champagne Poppy does have a more certain victory. That is a rarity. You almost never see a tie in a single race. But now Champagne Poppy has a slight edge in points, as they definitely finished in first that time around. And keep in mind, Champagne Poppy, aka Blue Line Racing, is our defending champion. And they're looking to keep that going. As we check the replay, did they grab first again? It almost looks like it was Flip, but I think it was Flip. Neither one of these racers will be undefeated anymore. 1 race left. It is pretty close right now. Champagne Poppy is trying to grab the win. I think they managed to pull it off right before they got to the finish. Because it looked to me like Flip Gambino had the lead most of the time. But Champagne Poppy, I believe, got it before he did. And he did, so Champagne Poppy, the defending champion, will be progressing. And now for our fifth group. All four of these racers have been very fast. And now, let's see which one will move on. It is Champagne Poppy grabbing the first win. I think this is actually the finals of the finals. These are the last four racers in the tournament. And it's looking very good for Champagne Poppy, who grabs the first win. They are looking to win 3 tournaments in a row. And so far in the second race, they have a slight edge. Will they be able to hold on to it? RAF was coming up close behind him. But I believe Champagne Poppy was still able to do it. It looked like Champagne Poppy broke the line first, and they did. If Champagne Poppy wins this next race, they will be your champion yet again in terms of representing Blue Line Racing. And it looks like they'll do it. They were right next to Dusty Miles for a good chunk of that stretch. But this is the kind of racing I'm all here for. But Champagne Poppy is granted the victory, so they will continue to be your defending champion for Blue Line Racing. And here we go into the final race, and they grab that 4th win. No one came out of this tournament completely undefeated, but 3 racers had the fastest time. Champagne Poppy, RAF, and Flip Gambino all finished with a 2.53, and Champagne Poppy is your overall winner. Blue Line Racing has another champion under their belt. And there's your top 3 right there. Congratulations to all. Thank you all so much for watching. See you for the next tournament.